Marriage is the ultimate commitment. In marriage, we say that we are ready to live together, to learn together, and to love together. But it's more than just a commitment between two individuals. In marriage, we bring together two different parts of a society, two different families, two different cultures. And it's for this reason that marriage is integral to any successful society. It is what teaches us to learn together, live together, and love together, to recognize the basic humanity in the ones whom we share this earth with, because we spend so much time with them. And so it's for this reason that we are proud to propose the motion this House would financially incentivize interethnic and interreligious marriages. In order to do this, we provide you with the following model: that financial incentives will be given on the basis of tax breaks to couples who are legally married. In order to enforce this, we use the same guidelines of any other affirmative action policy, in education or in business, looking at how people have identified in the past and making sure it's consistent with what they're identifying with in their marriage. Now, we provide you with three substantive arguments for why this ought to be accepted. First, we tell you that we're able to provide increased contact between peoples. Secondly, we say that we're able to increase the movement of money throughout a society. And thirdly, Millen will introduce the last argument in his second speech regarding how we're able to increase the equality amongst political actors of interethnic or interreligious bases. So, now to the point on contact. Why is it important that we talk, that we discuss? Why are we here debating right now? Because ultimately, that sharing of ideas is what allows us to understand one another, to see the point of view of one another, and to make good decisions based not just on ourselves, but off of the success of society. That increased understanding is something that is paramount to any successful society. And yet, increasingly, one of the major ways in which we allow ourselves to get to know another person, get to know other people, marriage has become gentrified. We see lighter-skinned people marrying other lighter-skinned people. We see members of a certain religion marrying members of that same religion. And increasingly, we see more wealthy people marrying people who are just as wealthy. And so, what we recognize is the need to end this gentrification of marriage. Because what better way is there to have contact between people than a commitment for life, literally? Well, what we're looking at here is a huge tool for teaching one another about different cultures, about commitments, different peoples, and for that understanding. Because ultimately, the end to discrimination comes from discussion. It comes from getting to know other people. Marriage is something that allows us to do just that. But if we have an increasingly gentrified marriage system, none of that is going to happen. So now we provide you with two layers of analysis for how we're going to increase the contact between people. Firstly, we say that we're able to increase the contact between individuals in a marriage. What we say is simple. Whenever we have two individuals that are marrying one another, we give them financial incentive to go outside and look to other areas, look possibly to communities where they wouldn't have thought to look. And as a result, they may find that their true love isn't where they thought they would be. They may find true love elsewhere, and they may find through that contact someone who they're ready to spend the rest of their life with. We think that is spectacular. And we think that the discussion that comes from that is allowing those people to understand each other on a much more realistic basis. They're able to make decisions, therefore, that impact not just their community, their culture, but the community and cultures of those who they live, love, and learn with. That allows them to be much more successful members of society. But then the second layer of analysis we give you is that we're able to increase contact between communities. Because not only do you have individuals who are just married, marriage isn't a static thing. When you go into marriage, you tend to move in together, live together. And that means that you all of a sudden have new neighbors. Those neighbors are also people you're able to impact. Because they don't have to be married to someone of a different community, whether it's based on ethnicity or religion, in order to see members who live in that same community. As a result, you're able to increase communication, not just in this limited realm, but you're able to increase communication throughout the entire thing. You're able to have people living together and learning together and loving together, even when they're not married. Look to the example of Singapore, which did this quite successfully. The government required that members of certain races and religions and ethnicities all live together in the same apartment blocks. And what they found is increasingly they were a more diverse community. They were significantly less likely to discriminate, and they were happier. They lived in harmony, and harmony is the goal of any successful marriage. Likewise, it should be the goal of any successful society. So now, the second substantive argument that we give you is that we're able to increase the movement of money throughout a society. Marriage isn't just marrying two individuals, it marries their financial assets together. And it's for this reason that you never really see a marriage that's based just off of one sole thing. Finances are always a fundamental part of any sort of marriage. And as a result, we think that by using a financial incentive, we're able to increase the amount of people who are able to marry whom they love. We're able to increase the likelihood that people look for members who they could marry in different communities that they may not have previously. We look to the example of India currently, where gentrification has made it so lighter-skinned, wealthier individuals tend to marry only other lighter-skinned, wealthier individuals within Indian communities. And what happens is then all of that money gets trapped at the top. There's no movement of money between families because it's all trapped within the same groups. But if we can alleviate that pressure, if we can make it so it's financially viable for individuals to marry outside of those limited groups, then we're able to increase the movement of money down throughout society so that everyone has access to marrying for love and so that they can have access to an equal opportunity when they do this. That they no longer have to worry about finances, and when they do marry, they can actually move some of that money and they can move it to different communities from which they came. We think that's hugely successful. But then the second layer of analysis we give you on this point is we're actually able to activate huge amounts of capital. In his book, The Mystery of Capital, economist from Peru, Hernando de Soto, writes that we have over 150 years worth of development aid trapped in the developing world. And the reason why is because we don't give fundamental rights to members of minority races and minority religions. We don't give those basic rights to things like ownership. And as a result, they can't do things like get a loan to start a business or own a house. But when they marry someone else who is given that right, and when that person who's given the right suddenly has financial incentive to marry them and can look at them and see that it's a viable option, then suddenly we're able to see those same people owning houses, starting businesses, and becoming equal members of a community. We're able to stop the systemic oppression of these ethnicities, of these religions, and ultimately, we're able to, as a society, live together, learn together, and love together. It's for this reason that we are wed to this proposal.